Welcome, everybody. Today, I have the great honor of introducing you to someone that I feel such a profound connection to because Pam Gregory has been basically anchoring a whole new vision of the universe that I haven't really spoken publicly about much in terms of my own interests. But since 17, I've been a novice astrologer for my own life. And now I'm able to share with you this incredible resource that is Pam Gregory. And I'd love for you to maybe just give us a bit of an introduction about the work you do and how you came to this incredible vocation, which is to share this incredible insight about our connection to the stars and the spiritual dimensions of life.
Yeah, thank you, sir. A lovely, lovely introduction. It was by accident, but of course these things never ever are they? As soon as I'd finished university the next day, I got on a plane with $100, flew to Toronto, no job, didn't know anyone, started new life. In the first week, I joined a yoga class, and there was a big guy there from Jamaica, and some of the girls at the end of the class said, "He's an astrologer." So I went up and said, "Look, I know absolutely nothing about this, but I'd love you to do my chart." And the next weekend, I spent 7 hours with him in his tiny apartment in Toronto, and it just cracked my world open. I remember it like it was yesterday because he could go back in my life and pinpoint events and etc. And I have really not stopped studying since that moment. It was he disappeared soon after, and I wondered if he was an earth angel. Actually, he was just there to reconnect me because I know I've done this in past lives. In one particular life, I even know my name and who I was and what I did. So I've been around the track a couple of times with this. So, and although I was in the corporate world for 35 years with increasing discontent of all of that, of course, I knew that I was just being drawn to something much, much deeper. And even even now, I feel I'm going beyond the astrology that we've used. And I'm not going to be very articulate about that because I haven't got it clear enough in my head, but it's something to do with the dwarf planets going further out, higher octave of consciousness. But it's also, I think, we may even discover way beyond our universe. So, it's almost like Russian dolls, that we live in a series of fractals, and I think we are on the precipice of discovering so much more because if we go back, as you're well aware as an astrologer, Pluto has a 248-year orbit. So one of the previous times it was in Aquarius was in 1543 when Copernicus published his heliocentric theory. If the Earth goes around the sun, not the other way around. And the average bloke in the street said, "You've got to be kidding," because I wake up in the morning, it's in the east, and I watch it. So that was kind of paradigm shattering. We are just entering, as you know, the next paradigm shattering 20 years with Pluto and Aquarius. And I believe that is going to shatter our current view of the cosmos, of astrology, how it works, that we're going to start to understand it is not fated as often as old astrology has been, that it's going to really help us to be sovereign via using astrology rather than victim of the planets, which I think to some extent it has been.
Thank
Very
you.
long answer, but yeah.
Yes, it's an incredible answer because, I look at the lens of astrology in a phenomenological way. I studied phenomenology in college as a philosophy major, and I'm very empirical. And what I found so fascinating about this lens is that it so accurately depicts aspects of our, mythos, sort of these meaningful themes that are woven underneath, the 3D world that seems so arbitrary and just so, Cartesian and Euclidean. And there's this profound meaning that surfaces. And through the lens of astrology, I've been able to figure out people's soul natures and my own life, the way it's unfolded. And only recently have I started to look into the future and start to see, wow, it can almost help me to navigate events that are about to occur. And interestingly, for our followers, GreenMed Info was started right when Pluto went into Capricorn. And here we are at the precipice of it moving into Aquarius, and I get to meet with you. And, recently we've tried to create a platform that is for this sort of Aquarian age called Unite. And actually, we're honored to have you on this platform. But the transition isn't easy. And, I just would love for you to speak more about that because it sounds like you just referenced something to the effect around this changing of ages.
Yeah, I think, and I was talking to Tia about this. There's a much greater sense of community and collaboration, people coming together to live, to share, etc. That's very strong, obviously, with all the Aquarian energy. And what you've been saying, Sarah, is so interesting that with astrology we can just get so much profound meaning from our lives. Because if you live at the 3D level of froth and the rubber hitting the road, and you wouldn't believe what happened to me today, and yet another thing, and I'm always a loser, it's sort of life hitting you, then you never see the underlying pillars of meaning that astrology provides for you. These kind of arc, it's almost like a tapestry that you've got these vertical structures in the loom around which you can weave your life. But the vertical structures in the loom hold the archetypal meaning. And my job and your job when you're working as an astrologer is to help people live a bigger, better life using those archetypes in a more magnificent and harmonious way rather than just the rubber hitting the road. So I think we've got a great job helping people live a bigger and better life. But your question is actually really, really interesting because you will know very well as an astrologer, it's phenomenally accurate. It's phenomenally accurate. And I haven't ever said this publicly, but I'm going through a bit of an existential crisis because at one end of the spectrum, you can be very specific and it's going to be accurate, it's going to play out, and it does. And there's a sense of, there we go, I was right again. There we go, the astrology was right again. But is that ego? And at the other end of the spectrum, which is going to be more abstract and less definitive and less predictive, am I leaving more room for co-creation?
Oh, mm.
So that's the wobble. That's the wobble I'm on at the moment because so many people are saying, please, please, please talk about the US election and analyze the candidates' charts and predict the
Yeah.
outcome, blah, 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 blah. But I actually want to say, actually, we've got to go beyond the whole system. This is still deference to external authority. And actually, we've get to the point of sovereignty where whatever happens in the election, actually, it doesn't really matter because we're reclaiming sovereignty.
I love it. You're amazing. That's so profound. I've noted that sometimes the more predictive aspects of astrology seem to hold true because many of us, including myself at times, live in that more automaton state of reactivity, lacking consciousness to be able to get into that co-creative state where you realize that you're both, being woven and you're the weaver. And this notion of these archetypal pillars is so profound because there are these forces that are beyond seeming our control to change at our will, like Pluto, obviously, and the larger planets are so disruptive of our plans in a beautiful way. And also I've been interested in how when Pluto and Saturn came into conjunction during the lockdowns, it helped me understand why throughout the ages people supplicated and in a way worshipped and had this fetish around Saturn being the most powerful force, i.e. the Saturnian or satanic approach to thinking you have to sacrifice even beings for this god, but not realizing there are higher dimensional forces or vibrations sometimes represented by those transuranic planets. So please feel free to elaborate further with this new model or way of understanding astrology, even knowing that there's some novices here that are probably scratching their head thinking, what are they talking about?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's like talking Hebrew, isn't it? Completely. It's really interesting with that Saturn Pluto conjunct on the 12th of January 2020, as that was a historical repeating cycle of the abuse of power, particularly in Capricorn, top down power. And boy, didn't we get that? So I just kept hearing jackboots on the tarmac. That's all I could hear, jackboots on the tarmac. And I actually used that phrase in those 2020 videos. And I didn't know what form it would take because I never know the event. Some people are very gifted and psychic, and I just tend to work with the astrology. But nevertheless, hey, press. But that also acted as a catalyst, didn't it, of where we are now? Because if that hadn't happened, we'd be same old, same old, same old job, comfort zone, watching Netflix, microwave meal, doing the same stuff. We wouldn't have been shaken into, boy, do we need to change this world and create more love. We wouldn't have got there so fast. And so it's been the most amazing catalyst. So there's been a bit of a boomerang effect with that. And now so many more people are saying, do you know what? We're just not going to do that anymore. We're done with that. And so the vision that's coming together that I know, you work so hard on, and Tia's doing beautiful work, and there are people all over the world, as you know, say in these communities, they're buying land, they're growing food, or they're working as individuals, as genius individuals with new technology based on Tesla and Steiner to create free energy, healing technologies that are going to revolutionize our lives, that very much are in line with the dwarf planet energies. And because they can't easily connect with each other, but very soon they will, because they could ask people like you as jump leads to connect them, if you follow, then
Jumpy.
we have a tsunami of freedom. We have a freedom movement which is absolutely unstoppable.
Wow. Wow, that's
Am I
amazing.
making sense? Am I making
I
sense?
think so. I mean, to go back to the profound event you just described so profoundly, I felt as if all this transgenerational karma had been delivered, and karma isn't a bad thing when it's finally expressed in the 3D because it's a way of us understanding the consequences of our actions and the universal law of cause and effect. And it was an opportunity for us to all actually feel one. And now with this awakening, because I'd say from the health sovereignty perspective, and even now being able to talk with you about astrology and connect my people to this profound wisdom that you hold and have been sharing for years. In fact, everyone, please go to your channel and check out your incredible work. And it's really not even just the genius of the way you put it together, it's the energy you hold and how you transmit it. And that to me is sort of the new metric of what is a good teacher, right? Is holding and anchoring that energy. It can teleport material. It can do things that, higher civilizations that are probably watching us right now are aware of. So it is a beautiful thing that you're helping us with this. And also, I didn't know anything about the dwarf planets, and now you're helping bring that in. So feel free to tell us more about it.
Yeah, they're wonderful. I mean, there's so many more to investigate because there are just thousands of them out there. But they have been made accessible, obviously, by stronger telescopes, etc. But the one of the key astronomers who has discovered a lot of them is a guy called Mike Brown in Arizona, and luckily he is very well versed in mythology. So he often gives them, just by coincidence, because this is how these things happen, a wonderful name. But he's also very good at getting the exact discovery moment. So that gives us the discovery chart, and then we can investigate the physical characteristics, like Homer being egg-shaped, and she's linked to the Hawaiian goddess of fertility, and
Wow.
she has a very elliptical orbit, etc. And then we put them in people's charts and start to see how they operate. So, but all of them that I've investigated so far have, on the one hand, this beautiful connection back, almost a shamanic connection back to the earth and nature and natural cycles, and respecting divinity in all living beings, an ant, a tiny bit of moss, everything. But also, they seem to have a kind of leading edge understanding of how we manifest, a sort of quantum physics model of how we manifest. So they're a wonderful combination, and we're discovering more and more about them all the time. For instance, now I don't believe I've spoken about this yet, but at the solar eclipse on the 2nd of October this month, I happened to be with Veda Austin on a retreat in Glastonbury for several days. And she's a wonderful lady with crystallography. You probably know her work. And we were agitating some water in a pan with a spoon, and then we would photograph the water. And in the photograph, what emerged was they looked like light squiggles. And that day, the solar eclipse was exactly to the degree opposing Salacia. Now, Salacia is the wife of Neptune in myth. She's mermaid energy. She's related to the shimmering moonlight and sunlight on the sea. I'd already made the connection. I feel that she's very linked to photonic energy because the Earth is currently moving through the photon belt. But I suddenly saw in the photograph of the agitated water, because the solar eclipse was exactly aspecting Salacia, I thought she's connected to light language. And so, what is going to be very interesting, I don't know if that's true, but if we start to put Salacia into people's charts,
Ah.
either natally or by transit,
Mhm.
is Salacia acting as an activator for when people start to speak light language?
Wow.
You find, so this is
Yeah.
a high octave of consciousness, and because they've been so recently discovered, like it was only around the turn of the century that, the last 20, 25 years or so that they've been discovered, we are learning all the time what these archetypes are about. Homer is very linked to, well, in her fire goddess aspect, she's linked to Pele in Hawaii, producing the 8 islands of Hawaii. So I believe very strongly she's linked to the re-emergence of land masses
And
that
Lemuria.
were ancient Lemuria.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a lot of that. And it's very interesting already. A few months ago, a whole new gigantic mountain range was discovered off the coast of Chile that nobody knew about, with all of these new sea plant species in them. So I think a lot of our nutrition in future is going to come from the sea. It's very concentrated. This is right up your street. So dense energy. So that's going to produce a lot more land masses re-emerging, because as we reconnect to love, and that was the frequency of Lemuria, we're going to start to see those land masses re-emerging.
You are blowing my mind and my heart wide open. This is amazing. This is amazing. Yeah. Because this
Yeah,
is like, yeah, the ancient futures notion of cyclical time and the golden age being both in the past and the future and now present. And also for people who are listening, they're like, this sounds totally weird. But I want them to understand if you think about the model of the atom, even, you have this little, proton and you have this nucleus and it's all space. When you think of the solar system and the power of those bodies when you scale up in this holofractal universe, people don't really acknowledge because they see all this invisible space between these bodies in our solar system, that we are within this body and that there is massive influence slash we are that. It's not even influence, it's not A touching B. So when you have these dwarf planets, their field is practically infinite. And so the discovery, right, of these bodies is so profound, especially because the coterminous nature of discovery of Pluto during, like when plutonium was discovered and fascism was taking root. All these discoveries happen not coincidentally. They're actually, this is what you do. So thank you for bringing this up. It's profound. Please feel free to elaborate or add something new.
yeah, it really is fascinating, because I think these, we still got L plates on. We've still got L plates on with the new dwarf planet archetypes, but I think they are going to take us a very long way, because what they're going to teach us is, we as astrologers, just like economists and meteorologists, tend to say this is what happened in the last cycle. This is the kind of thing that's happened again. But because we are expanding our consciousness so much, the past does not have to define our future, that we're vortexing upwards and expanding. So as we get to a much greater point of multidimensionality and galactic connection, once the galactics really start to connect with more of us, I mean, many people channel galactic beings already, but I think that is going to quantum jump us into the next definition of what humanity is.
That's a whole nother level because exactly we could visualize the cycle as a circle, which is closed, but you're talking about a vortex or spiral that's open-ended and expanding, which is actually how our solar system moves anyway within the galaxy and the super galactic clusters. It's just incredible, beautiful unfoldment, isn't it? It's dynamic and open-ended and asymmetrical.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I'm aware of two people. One of whom is a lady called Dr. Forte. I think it's Forte. She wrote a book some years ago that absolutely captivated me, called Fractals of God. And in this book, I think she's a psychologist or psychotherapist. In this book, she describes how she received visions, meditations, downloads in her dreams from the galactic beings of a new technology that she had to create. Now, I'm just starting to get in touch with another person right now who is doing exactly the same, who is receiving galactic instruction on how to create phenomenal technologies that are going to aid the earth and our healing. Phenomenal. I mean,
Wow.
mind blowing, all delivered with love, all based on love, and that everything, as we always know, it always has been, is energy and frequency, but frequency becomes our key in terms of how we operate in the world. You know, we'll be able to access our teleportation vehicle via our consciousness, our particular frequency. That will be our key. We won't have a metal key. They will recognize our frequency, and that's how we will move around in space. Now, I know Nassim Harriman, and I'm sure you know his work. He's already working on this, and he said within the next 10 years we're gonna see these devices. And so these dwarf planets are taking us further out in space because they are further out in space, but they're also, because of that sense of expanding our consciousness in every moment. And that is, as you say, absolutely infinite. It's completely without limit. And so we are moving so far beyond our 3D reality that we are going to barely be able to keep up with it.
That is a very cool
Um, and
message.
so I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to say any more about, other dwarf planets. There's some really beautiful ones in there. I mean, Sedna is one I absolutely love, although the story's a bit grisly. She has profound symbolism for our time.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I just went through my Chiron return, and I can say that there's some really powerful, literal, mythopoetic manifestations of that process from me, like, snapping my tendon in my calf and being bedridden for a month to having to deal with very literal representations of these planetary archetypes. So it's been quite a journey recently. Pam, is that with scalar field physics and other revelations around Maxwell's equations that aren't mentioned and Hilbert's space and quantum physics, there are all these explanations now for things that used to be considered supernatural or spooky or, miracles. And that's why when I listen to you sometimes, I so appreciate how you ground it in science and, give people an understanding of how this is truly a new way of looking at our lives, that we can manifest and we co-create things. And if we take radical responsibility, it also means we have incredible influence and to be able to undo things that are maybe we're suffering from as well. So, um, because we have a lot of people that are very involved in health sovereignty, I'm curious how you see that topic moving forward, and as we go into this sort of new age, which I hope is a golden age.
Yeah, I think it's all about love and coherence. I think it's all about love and coherence. I mean, again, this is absolutely the heart of your works, say, and you're doing some beautiful work. And once we get love and coherence, everything kind of goes back to the blueprint. We know we can be healed in moments. I mean, for a period of time, I followed absolute genius, Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. He's doing some great work, and I attended about 14 of his advanced workshops and just saw miracles in every moment. People standing up from wheelchairs, people, there's a lady in front of me with a huge tumor on her neck. We came back from the 3-hour meditation, the tumor was gone. It's just phenomenal and very deep meditation, obviously. But he puts electrodes on meditators' heads to demonstrate scientifically where they are going in their brain wavelength. And the deeper they go, the more incoherent they become, the greater the potential healing. That can happen in moments. And
Wow.
I've seen dozens of miracles in those workshops, absolutely dozens. So it doesn't have to be a slog away for years. Once we understand frequency, love and coherence, those are the keys to turn around all kinds of very serious illnesses. I've seen genetic illnesses, terminal illnesses. It's just been quite mind blowing. But this is the new paradigm that we're moving into, that will become the new normal. We're
That is
moving,
beautiful.
of course, away from, chemistry and into frequency.
That
Absolutely.
is so beautiful because a lot of the work I do is try to help people understand that healing from anything is not only possible, but it's absolutely available. But the rate limiting step seems to be three things. First of all, they have to believe that it's possible. And your examples are incredible because I actually know people within those workshops that have had experiences like that. As well as then it's you have to have the will, which I think those two things generally people, when they are suffering, they're like, okay, I have those. But the third one that I think is hardest is people don't feel they truly deserve that healing because they have low self-esteem or they've been traumatized into feeling a lot of shame. And that's where the vibration of love that you're referring to is the master key. I really do believe that. And how does someone then that maybe is in a state of feeling ashamed or they're not worthy, how would they raise to that vibration? Yeah, I'm just curious if you have a suggestion.
Yeah, I think it's several things. I mean, you know, a terribly simple practical thing is ask all your friends and family, why do they love you? And get them to give you an answer on a piece of paper. And then stick those pieces of paper all over your fridge door or your bathroom mirror, your kitchen cupboards, and read them several times a day. I would do that. And the other thing in any meditation or stillness or quiet moment, I'd set a clear intention. I am going to feel love and I'm going to connect to the love in the universal field. And what is happening, I don't know if you know, say, I have this idea, honestly, it was just incredibly simple, of setting up a free 15-minute meditation, 7 o'clock UK time on a Sunday evening. No Zoom, no tech, no recordings. You just join energetically. You set a clear intention for my highest good of all, the highest good of the earth. Feel we're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love. And the experiences people are having is they are absolutely blowing my mind of the experience of this overwhelming love that it just brings people to tears. And even particularly actually people who were struggling with self-worth or lack of love, they just feel consumed by the love that all the meditators are emitting in those 15 minutes, and they're quite transformed by that because people are writing to me all the time about this. I think, wow, that was just such a simple idea. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but just joining that for free, energetically, doing those things, set the intention, feel an expanded consciousness of love, and off you go. And it isn't just that we are putting that feeling out to people; we are receiving it back. It's bouncing back to us because if
Wow.
you connect with all the other meditators with your heart, I mean, Lynn McTaggart has done 10 tons of work with this, that the greatest healing happens when you're sending love to somebody else
Wow.
in a group of 8. That's the biggest healing you get, is not when you're focused on self, when you're sending healing to somebody else. And so that's what we're starting to see in these 15-minute free meditations. So, anybody anywhere in the world can join, all welcome. And so that, I think, you're caught up in that collective energy of love. And that
That
can be
is
a fast fix.
that is so beautiful and powerful what you just shared. Thank you so much. I think that what I've witnessed is that once you do these sorts of things and you ask for the universe to support you, that is the only thing really in the way of the things that we really want to dream of. It's that you just haven't given yourself permission. And there's just a whole world of angelic energies ready to pour into you once you realize it's an option. And that's the nature of being incarnate on this plane, is that you actually have this powerful choice available to you. And unless you exercise it consciously, because it's being exercised unconsciously all the time, I'm not worthy, I can't heal, then you clear and miracles happen. So, wow, thank you for that. It's really beautiful. And if there is this opportunity, we'll make sure to put it in the description and people can connect in. We're doing the more powerful work of putting together these circles, and they were able, I was here, it was a category 5. It was going to devastate people in my life. And it just seemed to kind of dissipate. It was an incredible experience. And that's hard science. I think that there's a lot there now in quantum physics and scalar field physics to explain that. But, I think that you're living it. You're showing us that, hey, this is happening. People like Dispenza, etc.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your work. Can you please tell us, like, how do we stay abreast of your work? How do we join with you in creating this more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, as Charles Eisenstein so geniusly said.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So, and just to say also, if you go onto Lynn McTaggart's website, because she's very scrupulous in her scientific method, she's got a tab on her website that says evidence of all of her meditations, whether it's, bringing peace to the Middle East years ago, all kinds of different meditations to give people the evidence of this can work. And people, it isn't just people following my meditation, they're all over the world, as you know. Dr. Joe Dispenza's doing great stuff too. But for people to connect to my work, really, I'm keeping it very simple now. My YouTube channel is super active. That's just Pam Gregory, Pam Gregory Astrologer. That's super active. And also my website, pamgregory.com. And but I'm spending most of the time pouring my research and thinking and energy into that YouTube channel, because that's how I can reach most people most efficiently and easily, because we're on a fast track now. And yeah, I think I'm one of the many, many, many people across the world who really feel I am here to do whatever I can to magnetize in New Earth. I'm going to play my part. I'm going to die in a ditch to play my part to magnetize in New Earth. That's why I'm here. That's why I chose to be here.
That is so beautiful. Thank you. In fact, I learned of your work through YouTube. It's amazing to just have you be present in my life and to be able to learn. And would you have any sort of like final comments or directions to people as far as how we all join in this new earth together and make it happen in our
Yeah,
lifetimes?
I think choose to live in love. As soon as you open your eyes in the morning, I choose to live in love, and I dominate my day with love. I live from the inside out, not the outside in. I'm not going to have it scattered by external events and the news and who's leading in the election. Yeah, I'm going to dominate my day with love. And the other thing I would say is connect to like-minded others who have the same vision and are trying to make it manifest. And there are groups like that all over the world. Stand in the Park groups or global freedom groups. There are many, many groups of this kind. But the more you can do it online, even better in person, the more you can connect to that. They will act as a support, but then you really feel I'm doing something practical to make this happen. And then, you're on a roll.
So beautiful. We're so happy that you came on, and we're just so grateful for your work. And thank you for giving us that inspiration. Everyone who's listening, please feel free to join the links to Pam on YouTube and Together We Rise. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you, Saya, for everything you're doing. It is absolutely, you are a very unique voice, and your work is priceless at the moment in the world. You stand tall in your sovereignty and your courage. I can really say that.
That means the world to me. Thank you so much.